Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are back. Welcome to Teach Me Please. Teach Me Plus. Darcy, what is Teach Me Plus?
Well, you tell me.
Oh, I will.
It's new, isn't it?
I'll tell you what it is. It's a new thing. We're super excited about it. It's basically in the name, Teach Me Plus. It's talking to industry leaders and experts in certain fields of niche topics that are things that I wish I knew when I was 16, 17, 18 years old. Throughout this series, brought to you by beautiful friends at Open University Australia, we'll be discussing things of how to get there, how to do it, and learning a little bit more about certain stuff. And today, it is how to start a business. And I might just add to this, it's how to start a small business, because heading into this chat, Das, I've got my great friend, Ricky Jessop, who is a chartered accountant, done a mountain of study in this field, who's become a really close friend, confidant, an accountant, and also the CFO of Producey, Clubby Sports, Dyl Friends, and all those bits and pieces.
How did you guys
meet?
Come together? How did you meet?
So
how did that start?
Funnily enough, we chatted a little bit about it throughout the ep, but he was working as an accountant, obviously. He was one of a good friend of mine's good friend.
Yep. And
we just sort of met up for a coffee one day. I was like, I really get along with Rick. I'd actually known him prior to that, just on a mutual level. Didn't even know that he was an accountant. And just started chatting, and I think that's a really big part of the chat, which we'll get into and talk about in some of the stuff we discuss. But it's finding an army or finding people around you that you can go to for support, because starting a small business is genuinely really tough. And I'm not going to pretend it's not. Well, it is for me anyway. Some people would have thought it was a bit easier, but I think it's so important to have the right people around you, and that starts with an accountant. It starts with someone to give you that financial advice, because at the end of the day, to have a sustainable business, it's got to make more money than it spends, or in a basic term anyway. We'll get into how, there could be good debt, bad debt, and all those bits and pieces.
That's what we're doing today, isn't it?
We're just
basic terms.
Basic terms. There's lots of terms in there where I'm like, Ricky, what the hell does that mean?
Teach me, please.
Can you please teach me again? I know we've been working together for 3 years, but I still don't understand what you're talking about. But now Rick's a legend. He's such a ripping guy, and he's taught me so much. Without him, I really don't think we would all be here today doing this, because he's been able to really inject himself and his knowledge and everything into the business. So if that's the one message you get out today, it's find your own Ricky that you can rely on.
Find yourself a Ricky. Why don't you run us through a couple of things that you touched on during that part?
Yeah, okay. A few things we spoke about throughout the episode was getting your bank account sorted. Okay, things like this. Don't use your personal account and your business account together. Get a new account.
Did you make that mistake?
Yes, I did, and it was really hard to work that out at a later stage. We spoke about names and handles. As much as this is quite a funny thing, it's really important to have a good Instagram handle, good Facebook handle, good TikTok handle, and know that it's available on the business registry, your ABN, your website. You want to have that all really flowing before you launch, because so many times Ricky speaks about people launch a business, but then they can't get the name, or it's not working on different parts. So I think that's a really funny one that, people might think is not as serious, but it really is in the modern age. I know the first thing I check on a business is their Instagram page. We spoke about roles and responsibilities, whether that's with you and you're a single business and it's things that you really want to do versus things you want to outsource, or it's with a business partner or business partners that you have to have those tough conversations early with people going, okay, we're starting a business together. What are you bringing to the table? What am I bringing to the table? Is it money? Is it sweat equity? Is it experience? Is it knowledge? What are those things? What are you bringing to the table early, and revisiting that every 3 to 6 to 9 months in the early stages to make sure you're all on the same page. And I think the biggest thing that we spoke about that I really had no idea what I was doing when I started a business was forecasting. And it was working out, okay, if I start this business over the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months, what is it going to cost? What is the minimum amount of money it's going to cost to do this? Maximum amount of money it's going to cost to do this, because then I can budget. I know what money I have to make. I know what my profit and loss looks like. I know how these things, how it's going to work, basically. So there's some really key factors. We touched on many things. And again, guys, this was super top of line today, because as we got in, Das, as you heard, once you ask one question, it opens up a whole kettle of fish for other things. And there is so many different businesses that you can start, whether that's a bloody laundromat or a retail business or a cafe or a restaurant, or it could be a podcast business, whatever it is. There's similarities in a lot at the beginning, but then as you go, they niche down into their own topics, but a lot of them are transferable. So hopefully we answered everything that you need today for those bits and pieces. I really enjoyed this myself. There could be so many bits and pieces we go off into different niches after, but I really enjoyed it. I hope you did too. Thanks again to Open University Australia for being a part of it. Darcy, give me your one part you like the most.
I think when Rick was talking about just having a support network, like you're not expected to know everything when you start a business, so you don't need to act like you do. So find someone that can sort of help you through it to begin with and really lean on their expertise. I thought that was really good advice.
I liked the other bit was about, that was number one. Equally number one was the forecasting and budgeting. I think that's number one to you've got to know whether you're getting a loan, your own finances putting in, or you're just starting from scratch, know your ins and outs, know what you need to make a month, or what is going out a month. And those two numbers, that's really important, which Ricky will sort of go through. So yeah, hope you enjoy it, guys. Would love feedback on this. Also, before the episode finishes up, for all those people out there maybe that aren't ready to start a business yet but want to get back into education and upskilling themselves on all these bits and pieces like Rick and I speak about throughout the episode, make sure you head to Open Universities Australia to research a few of those courses, and we'll actually be speaking to a careers advisor post the episode as well about some courses that might be suitable for this sort of thing. So make sure you stick around for that. That'll be really, really interesting. In saying that, let's get into the episode. But before we do, just a little disclaimer. Hey guys, before we get into today's episode with my good friend Rick, remember that your business plan and industry may dictate a different order of priorities. Always consult with legal and financial advisors when making important decisions about starting a business. Slick Rick, how are you, my friend?
Hey Dyl, cool mate.
It's an honour, it's a pleasure to have you in the studio. This is normally a little bit different to our catch-ups, but
yes,
how are you enjoying this sense so far?
Yeah, very different to our normal meetings. It's just me and you in the cafe downstairs. So having 5 cameras and a couple of TVs around us is very different.
When do you feel when we're in our meetings? They're normally for like 45 to an hour. How long do you feel you have my attention fully for?
For probably 4 to 6 minutes.
4 to 6. It's better than 4 to 6.
If I mention the word you got to pay tax, then your ears prick up.
Yeah.
But no, definitely at least 80%, I would say.
No, I've really enjoyed our relationship, and I'm so excited to get you in. You were the first person I thought of when this episode came out, because obviously Teach Me Please is about teaching someone how to do something, and I genuinely say this without a doubt. If I didn't have you, mate, I wouldn't have been able to do any of this. So I really do appreciate what you're doing for the business, what you're doing as a friend, and obviously I've really enjoyed working with you the last, how many, 2-3 years now? 2 years?
Yeah, I'd say
3 years.
Yeah, maybe just over 3 years.
Yeah, so it's been incredible. I've learned so much about this, and I think why I'm so passionate to do this episode is because so many people have been like, how did you do this? And I'm like, well, fuck, I don't really know, but I do. It's just hard to examine exactly how it did happen. But a lot of that does come down to you and your support and advice now working together over those periods. So for those out there who don't know you, how would you explain what you do and who you are? Yeah,
well, my background is the traditional accounting, tax, compliance work. And that's evolved, over the years to more of a CFO. The last few years, the outsourced CFO has really taken off, and a lot of people need someone at that level within their business, but not full time. So my role is to step in, whether that be 5 to 10 to 15 hours per week, and kind of sit with the owner and help them manage their financials and management reporting, and help them make better decisions to grow their business. Yeah,
it's a great answer. And I suppose when we started, I had no idea that that's what actually happened. We started out as my accountant. I wanted to start this business. We set up all the things that we'll talk about today to put in place from that 0 to 100. And I suppose we've been sort of sitting down pre this episode going, far out, this could go for 4 to 5 hours, this episode. And I think we'll need a few iterations of different levels, because there is so much to know. But from where it's come in our relationship, from being an accountant to then coming sort of on board for those hours a week of that CFO, I think that's like a really cool thing that I personally had no idea that's actually how businesses grow.
Yeah.
And if anyone out there, we'll talk a lot about, just to give a brief overview, we'll talk a bit about your background, where to start in a business, support network that I've been really lucky to build around with your advice and guidance. We'll talk about the financials in terms of, bank cards and Xero and tax and all that sort of fun stuff. And then one part as well that, I'll be really transparent about and and whatnot, because I feel like I never had this information when I wanted to start, was how to fund a business as well.
Yeah.
And like whether that's through loan or your own personal investment, how to know that it's going to be, have that longevity, which to be honest, I'm working these things out still. We're still in such an early phase. So we'll go from there.
Yeah, as you said, there's so much to learn. So attaching yourself to a good advisor, it's a journey and an education process. And like our, 3.5 years that we've worked together, it's been a journey on educating you on the different stages that you've encountered throughout your business journey.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's get into it. Firstly, what did you study?
Yeah, well, quite a bit of a long resume, but I've done the Bachelor of Commerce at La Trobe University, Executive MBA at Melbourne University, my Chartered Accounting Certificate, and a Tax Agent Practitioner Certificate. Wow. So, and I've just completed my Public Practice Certificate as well. So, long list of academic certificates to go with the CFO kind of title.
I know this is a podcast as well, but they do call him Handsome Rick. That's where he's not your average accountant. Not that I'm saying anything about accountants. I'm sure they're all beautiful people, but my one is extremely handsome, and he knows his numbers. You know
what accountants code for?
What is it?
An OnlyFans business. Didn't you know that?
Oh, I didn't. Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow. So what, OnlyFans people say they're accountants?
Yeah, because then no one asks them the second question.
Oh, Rick, okay. He's a comedian too. Okay, leave the jokes for the funny people, please. Fantastic. All right, well, incredible. Let's get into it. Did your business, your own business, was that the first business you ever started?
I was working for a boutique accounting firm for a number of years. And throughout that, there were opportunities to start businesses with friends.
Yeah.
So there was a couple that we started along the way and kind of went from that beginning, sole trader, company setup, trusts, these sorts of things. And that really just helped my, advisory work that I was doing on a Monday to Friday.
I'll talk a little bit about my journey as well, because today, I suppose, you pull me up if I'm saying too much. But the way that sort of our business is with everyone is sort of built, it's quite interesting, because I sort of started Dyl Friends. That was sort of the first sort of like little entity that was created, had an ABN, and then went on to obviously a sole trader, then went into like a corporate structure, which we'll talk about later. Is that the right terminology?
Yeah.
Something like that?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot of different terminologies, but yeah, basically that sole trader setup, and then as your business grows, you move that into a corporate structure for asset protection and minimising your tax legally.
Yep.
And yeah.
Of course. And the other part as well is from there, then Producey was born, and that was sort of another venture that started off the back of those things where, I've got the business now with myself and Adam and Zach, who's recently been a part of that, which is really exciting too. So I suppose a part of today would be like how to set up a business, how to talk about, equity with the business partners, how to negotiate those sorts of things, how to contractually write up those sorts of things. There's so much we'll go through, but I've got a list which we'll start on now, which is, what do you think, say someone's got their idea of a small business.
Yep.
What is the first few things that we should be doing before we start up?
Yeah, the first things you want to tick off are just organising your names. Basically, a lot of people can get attached to their name, so you really want to think that through. Make sure you can get your handles on your, Instagram or Twitter, and then on the back of that, going and registering your business name. So with the Australian Business Register, getting on there, registering it to your individual name. And I guess that's probably the first step. And then the second step would be getting that bank account, starting to get a plan together of, executing on your idea. Just
breaking down on the business name, because I think it's going to be funny when people listen to that and we talk straight off the back with handles and things like that. Whereas maybe more traditional accountants would be like, get your name set up on websites and all that stuff first. But realistically, I'm so bullish on that now, because if you don't have the handle on Instagram or TikTok or whatever your business is sort of going for, it's going to be really hard to then set everything else up. So in a very shallow way, I really do believe in the social media side of things, and you'd be amazed how many Instagram social media pages I have just like waiting there because I've landed the name. I then go on and buy, because if you've got the name on Instagram, 9 times out of 10 you'll have the business name available, which I will then purchase. They're about $20. So I've just got all them sitting there as well, sort of in case I do end up doing something else down the track, which is really, really important. So as you said, get your name sorted. Go into the Australian Business Registry, which once you set up your ABN, you'll have an account. And register the name there. ABN, is that just as simple as going on
just
online?
jumping on and registering your ABN. Probably takes maybe half an hour to an hour just to fill out all the details and have that issued, and then away you go. So that will just allow you to be able to invoice and just do all those bits and pieces around setting up a bank account,
everything. The funny thing as well with like ABN, again, like I remember you saying to me, we need to get this ABN. I was like, what the fuck is an ABN? Australian business number, which is again that little bit of a number that you find on an invoice that is just a thing that you need to get. Yeah,
it's just for the to help the ATO code for you and make sure you're on their system and they can tick the box relating to that. But it also gives your your business an identifying number.
Yeah. When you set up a business, and I suppose this is a few of my little things have been a part of this as well, it's like you can work out whether you, with ownership of the business, and you don't need to do that straight away of, if you're one person going into business, obviously you own 100% of it. But if it's a partnership between a mate, 3 mates, 4 mates, there's obviously going to be equity splits when you set up the business.
Yeah.
What have you found are the best ways to go about that? What advice would you give, 3 mates starting a business together? Is it to straight away lock in 33.3% each, or is it better to go, look, we're going to start a business, let's do 33% each for the first 6 months, then reassess and see where we're at?
Yeah, it's a difficult question. You can all have beers and it's all fine, and but once you get the hard work going and investing the time and the money in some circumstances, you need to really write your roles and responsibilities down and who's going to do what and how much time they're going to invest. And then you can kind of utilize that to work out the percentages and who's contributing what. And that's not to say that's going to be the be all and end all of that agreement. It's just something to start. And then you just want to reassess every 3-6 months and just touch in with everyone and make sure that that is still the same.
I think it's a really good bit of advice because even through my whole journey with the multiple things sort of we got going on, there's been so many of those little bits and pieces where if you avoid those tough conversations, and they're not so much, look, they are tough. They're extremely awkward sometimes because if you're dealing with close friends, but if you don't have those conversations early about what the roles and responsibilities are and what the equity is and who's putting in X amount, they're going to be a lot tougher down the track. So even just personally, for my advice, on everything I've ever done, I've had that advice early from yourself and a lot of other people, like, all right, let's work out here what we're doing because, firstly, friendship's the most important thing and you don't want that to come, down into the problem 6 months sort of down the track.
Yeah, and everyone values their contribution differently. So my contribution to your business might be valued different to, what you think it is. So having that conversation and bringing it out into the open just allows you to talk through that on why, what, how, and then come to an agreement.
Do you think it's important for that service, when starting that, is it, I know for a few things that we've sort of been through when we talk about our business together and all the other people in there, it's cool to have someone that's maybe not a part of it, but someone that's can almost facilitate the conversation sometimes, with it, if that is you're an accountant or a lawyer, someone that can ask those questions.
Yeah, definitely. You do want to have an unbiased party that can kind of assist with it. If you're using someone's accountant or lawyer, they can be a bit of biased in that. So you do want to have someone that can be unbiased and kind of guide the conversation and develop that shareholders agreement.
And from memory, I think it sounds like a lot of these names sound really scary, like a shareholder agreement. It sounds like a lot more than it is. From memory, a lot of the stuff that we've done before you get down that track of actually making sure a business is successful, to spend money on a lot of these things, like an email is lawful. Is that correct?
Probably need to ask the lawyers about
that. We'll do that next time. But I'm pretty sure if you've got everyone signing off or an agreement in an email, that's something that is somewhat law-abiding.
I'm not sure how that would hold up, but it definitely goes a long way to making sure that people are aware of...
Should go by quickly saying, I'm not a lawyer either, guys. This is it's not how to legally sue someone. This is about starting... You might have to do your own advice as well, just on the way through.
Generally, you can tell how much the owners have spoken to each other when you push a shareholders agreement in front of them.
Yeah.
If they haven't spoken, then the shareholders agreement will take 6 months to execute because there's all the nitty gritties that they haven't discussed in the lead up to, the business doing really well or, selling or whatever it might be. Whereas if you're having these conversations monthly or, 3 months, 6 months, when you do go down the path of getting a shareholders agreement, you've done the hard work. Everyone's on the same page. You understand the value and where everyone's at. So it's quite an easy process.
For sure. And that goes again to people listening, you start a business with a mate, they're They might be working full time, funding the business through equity, through cash injection, whereas you might be and working on it and taking funds of what it is. So there's so many different ones, but again, just seeking advice. I think personally, have yourself, if you can, at that start, and we'll get into the investment of how to start a business later with financials, but cutting out a bit of that budget to put towards having an accountant has been really vital, because you just know that mistakes are you're going to make so many mistakes in the business, and don't get me wrong, I've made more than most, but the ones that really hurt you are probably the financial mistakes. So if you can put money into that advice straight away, at least you got someone guiding you on that stuff from the beginning.
Yeah, you're already taking a risk starting the business and just having a crack. So you can reduce that risk by having the right people around you. That might be a commercial lawyer or your accountant or a trusted advisor mentor that can guide you, on these early stages or, on the later stages as well.
Yeah, I've been, super lucky to have a lot of people around, but it is really important, because even from my own story, I know a lot of people would probably be sitting in this boat. You grow up, you get your accounts done by your parents, same accountant. Yeah. And for me, it came to a point where I was like, look, I can sit with the same sort of thing I've done my whole life, but I sort of need to start fresh now. And I wanted to start fresh, new bank account, business name, all that stuff there, so that it was sort of into the same, transparency the whole way through. So maybe let's talk about that. When we're starting a business, obviously we just touched on ABN, having a website, having your handles, registering the business name, website. So there's sort of 5 things there that you can get on track of. The next thing would be a bank account.
Yeah, definitely. So many times I've seen people start up a business and run through business expenses through their personal accounts. So to make your accountant's life a lot easier, definitely start a separate account where you can, just use that card for anything related to your business. And that way it's just easier at the end of the year, or if you're doing monthly reporting, quarterly reporting, all the information's there to allow you to put together a report to analyse the business.
Yep. So have you seen a lot of people will come in at tax time, they've got personal, one card that's used for personal stuff, and then their business stuff, trying to go through that.
Especially that sole trader type of business. Yeah, definitely that crosses over on the personal business side
and
a lot.
I'm pretty sure they're it's free to start another bank account, isn't it? Most people it's $4 maybe.
Yeah, if it's a business transaction account within an entity, I think there might be additional costs, but most businesses are pretty competitive. Most banks are pretty competitive. And most of them will generally be zero.
Yeah, just to be really clear on that, just to make sure, because if someone says something that I don't understand, I'm going to repeat it one more time, but it's almost like you've got your CommBank account or whatever bank you're with, one card there with your savings. You literally just ask for another card, dip into your savings, which we'll get into next, of what you want to actually put into it using that one. So there's 2 different bank statements, one for personal, one for business. That I was that person, definitely using the 2 different accounts, and it made it very, very difficult. Zero.
Yep.
Zero is one of the hardest things to get your head around at the beginning, but is definitely your best friend as a business owner, trying to know your numbers and your P&L or whatever thing you're trying to do, where you're putting your money. So for those people out there, Xero's accounting software?
Yeah, just one of the leading accounting softwares within Australia and the world, and they just provide a really good user experience and allow you to allocate your business expenses in a easy, efficient way, so that you can build reporting to help you analyse your business, see how you're tracking, see where you're losing money or making money.
Tax and GST.
How long have you got?
I know. Short language of probably the 101 of tax and GST. Maybe it might be here to be a good time to explain the sole trader versus corporate. Is it going to be, can we?
Yeah, we can touch on those. Yeah, generally the sole trader is for someone just getting started. They want to own the assets and the liabilities themselves. Very minimal costs in running a sole trader. So it's generally for small businesses, turnover, maybe a couple $100,000, but their net profit might be under 50, 100, 200,000. So quite small in that extent. So it is a cost-effective way to start your business and then continue operating like that until you hit certain milestones, which your accountant would be able to sit with you and say, hey, look, you've hit these targets, it's time to move into a corporate structure.
Sure. So when, because there was actually a question here to jump ahead, I'll jump into these when they do get on because it is relevant at the time, but Archie Harrison said, can I start as a sole trader, then convert into a partnership or company easily later?
Yeah, pretty loaded question because there's a number of different ways to do it, and depending on what industry you're in and what assets you have, personally and within the business. So, having a corporate structure not only helps you predict, I guess, the tax that you're going to pay, but it also helps protect assets. So if you're an individual with a lot of assets in your name, you kind of want to get into that corporate structure as soon as possible to be able to just protect yourself.
So meaning, just to break that down again, so if that means, like, for example, you've got your business in a sole trader, but you've also got a property in your personal name as well, the sole trader probably won't protect you as much. If that business went bankrupt, then the bank could actually come for your house.
Yeah, well, there's a number of issues that can happen if that is the case. So running, putting your company or your business into that corporate structure, it's just going to give you more protection from your personal assets and what is a business asset.
Sure.
So when you're a sole trader, it's all kind of mixed in together. There's no clear line.
Yeah. And people would be saying, well, why would I go from a sole trader to a corporate or company structure business? Now that's tax benefits because you get locked into a certain rate rather than paying different tax in a sole trading account.
Yeah, with a sole trader, you get taxed on the individual marginal rates. And so, there's a 19 cents bracket, 32.5 cents bracket, 40 plus bracket. Probably might want to clarify those before going there. But basically with the individual and the sole trader, you're taxed at marginal rates, whereas the company, it's a flat 25% company tax rate. So there is a balance of, once you're earning a certain level in your individual name, your average tax rate creeps above that 25%. So at that stage, in terms of like a tax, minimizing your tax, you want to have your structure in a corporate structure so you can cap it, and then you would pay additional tax on whatever you've drawn out of the company.
Cool. So that's tax and GST. Again, that's something that I still struggle to sort of talk about, and would often, this is a point where you really need someone with you to go through this stuff, and each individual will be their own sort of advice on that.
Yeah, there's so many different businesses and they require different reporting for GST and tax. So, although it's great for the client to have a good understanding of those, you want to be working closely with your accountant so that you can, one, educate yourself, but understand the implications of when they're due and how much it is, and what has GST on it, and where your profit lies.
Sure.
Yep.
Grants,
yes. Grants and incentives, it's been a huge area, the last probably 5-7 years. The government have invested heavily on, startups and grants related to manufacturing and export marketing. So there's huge opportunities for small to medium business owners to get into this area to help fund their startup.
What sort of grants have you seen or that have come through? I'm always looking at grants potentially to try and get. There's been nothing in sort of our industry yet to do so, but would you sort of be saying to someone to start a business to start with looking at a grant, or would you say more someone 6 months in, once they've sort of got their workflow situated, to go okay, a grant's something to then escalate a business, not to start it?
Yeah, there are people that do take advantage of the grants and they'll build a business around getting the grants. Yeah. But, for the average Joe wanting to get involved and start a business, you probably want to, develop your idea and get started, and then check with a R&D specialist, so a research and development specialist or a grant specialist, and just see whether you can fall into any of these grants. The most common one I'm seeing is the Export Marketing Development Grant, which allows Australian companies who have developed a product or a business that's selling overseas to be able to get back a tax offset from all their marketing spend overseas.
Yeah.
Yep.
Interesting.
So that's a pool that the government have. The more people that go into the pool, then the less people get.
Less grants there is.
Yeah, less grants there is. So probably want to keep this one quiet.
Hurry up and get in there.
Hurry up and get in.
Couple grants. With funding a business to start. Yep. So if we're talking again, as we mentioned, there's going to be so many questions off the back of this, because I feel like the more we bring things up, the more questions there will be. But in terms of funding a business, so just to recap on that, we said financials to start a business. There's obviously bank cards to get your account sorted, your Xero, or there's MyOb, or there's a heap of different accounting tools that you could use. But I personally have used Xero and really enjoyed it. Sort of educating yourself on tax and GST through an accountant. There's websites you can go to for grants. Do you know any of them off by your heart? I did see one actually the other day.
You can just Google government grants, and a couple government websites will come up and they'll show you what's available. But probably the best way to go about it is if you don't know someone, Google R&D specialist, grants and incentive specialist, and there'd be a massive list that
Fantastic.
you can have a look at.
Definitely. We'll add some of those links to the show notes. I definitely did see one the other day, so make sure you check that out in the show notes. There'll be a big show notes to send off all this information. What about business loans, Rick? What's the difference between good debt and bad debt?
Yeah, well, something that we discuss with a lot of clients is, just being organised and planned. If they want to get into utilising debt to help their business either get started or grow, then they want to tick the boxes and make sure it's on that good debt side of things. Bad debt is, just being unorganised, not knowing where your money's going, not being able to plan effectively. And good debt is obviously ticking those boxes on a forecast, understanding your product, you validated your idea. And we see a lot of individuals utilising money from their network, where they might borrow some money from a friend or a parent, or they might go to your more traditional financial banks. And the one thing that they're going to want to know and look at is how organised are you, and how's your business plan and how's your forecast. So I think if you are going down that route, then working on a forecast with your accountant and just understanding, like what we touched on, how much working capital you have, how long is it going to last you if your idea doesn't work, how much time you're giving yourself to kind of make the business a success.
What would you say, is there a difference as well, like as an accountant going into someone going, hey, I'm going to borrow $50,000 or $10,000, $5,000 off my family versus borrowing it through a bank? Would you err them either way? Like, is there pros and cons of both, or they're both quite simple?
Well, I would treat them both the same, but obviously there's a bit more risk with the bank.
Yeah.
Like if you can't pay the bank back, they're probably going to come knocking on your door to get something. Where if it's family and friends, they might
They'll just break your legs or something.
Yeah, they'll just break your legs, or they won't talk to you for a few years.
Yeah.
So, but I would treat them the same in terms of how you go about it.
Yeah. And again, on a serious note, to build those, if you are going to people for money, having that business plan in place, having the doing your research, having advice off your accountant, and actually showing them, okay, this is what I'm doing, this is how I expect to pay you back, all those bits and pieces, avoids those other uncomfortable situations later down the track.
Yeah, and just ticking all those boxes, one, it's going to help you learn and educate yourself on the process, but two, give yourself the best possibility or the best chance of making it a success, and giving you the confidence to be like, what, I've done all the work I need to do. Let's now go out there and have a crack and make this work.
The biggest one probably that I had no idea how to do, or couldn't really get my head around, and I know that we worked a lot on this for a long time, was funding a business and knowing how much equity you need to put in, or what sort of loan you need to get to start a business, whether it's a business loan or investment from someone or your own working capital to go into start a business. How would you say... Well, maybe I'll just talk about my personal situation of how that happened. Yep. When I left sort of footy, started Dyl Friends, through that time to go back, I really knew that I wanted to start my own business. So I was like, I've got to lower my outgoings as much as I could. So I moved back in with Jaz's parents, sold my car, cut off all my Netflix accounts, all these bits and pieces, because I knew that starting a business was going to be hard, and I wanted to make sure that I was not spending as much as I could, spending as little as I could, so my outgoings would be really low. From that, I had X amount of dollars that I was like, well, instead of having this in my bank account, just sitting here, I need to fund this into starting my own business. So put that into my new business account, and then from there, we worked out going, okay, there's X amount of dollars in here. We need X amount to actually go for the next 3 months or 6 months. This is how much it's going to cost to run a business, because we went things like rent, equipment, wages, what I was going to pay myself, what my subscriptions were. Like, subscriptions is one where every month I look at that and go, wow, like subscriptions are, they're really expensive.
Yeah, everyone's taking a clip.
Everyone's taking a clip. There's all these little bits and pieces that I just had no idea about, but we built that into a sort of a formula going, all right, worst case, if I didn't make money for 6 months, this is how much it would cost me to run this business.
Yeah, definitely. Starting off with that forecast that you've built.
Yeah.
How much money do you have? You selling your car, building up your savings account, and I'm starting with this. How long is this going to last me? And you can use that to kind of validate your spending and whether that has a return of investment for your business. And the longer that you can make that money last, the better opportunity and the better chance if you've got making your business succeed. And we always talk about working capital within business and having that 3 to 6 to 9 months worth of cash there to be that rainy day fund if anything was to ever happen, that you can lean on that money and get through that time. That allows you to then evolve and then change your business and kind of get back on track.
Yeah, I think that's a really cool piece of information. I'm sure a lot of people are sort of aware of it, but if you aren't, I think that's nearly my biggest takeaway and a bit of like maybe advice for anyone looking into it. It's sort of just forecasting what you will need to go into that, and I suppose to go back as well. Like, you know, that's for someone who that was probably at the time when I was like, all right, I'm gonna have a crack at this and go full time. To go back to before that time, it was like that was when I was still working part time.
Yep.
And I was working 3 days a week, I think, with 3AW, sort of earning like part-time wage while saving money to then put into the next thing. So I just wanted to explain that part too, because I know that you can't just sort of, this whole thing of like quitting your job tomorrow and being able to start a business, not really. Yeah. It's definitely possible, but there's probably other ways to go about it.
Yeah, definitely. You know, want to put time into that side hustle and slowly validate your idea before you take the plunge. And that just gives you the ability to earn an income and then utilize that additional money to then, you know, invest into your business and hopefully grow it and step away from your full-time, part-time job.
Love it. Quick recap, guys. Just again, I love recapping here because this is just as much as a lesson for you guys as it is for me. I've done this for nearly 3 years and still trip up on these bits and pieces. ABN, business name, website, handles, sole traders versus partnership and corporate entities, roles and responsibilities with partners if you've got them, with that equity discussion, having open, honest conversations with what your roles and responsibilities are, and revisiting that every 3 to 6 months. Support network, which we'll get into next, and then financials was bank cards and accounts, ensuring that all that stuff's set up, that's clean, and that you can sort of track that really well. Setting yourself up with some accounting software, if that's Xero, whatever else it is, educating yourself on tax and GST, grants and business loans that might be available to you. And then that last bit, as I said, which is my favourite sort of part that I was really beneficial to learn, and to this day still my biggest thing. You know, I'm a catastrophizer. I always go, Ricky, if we fucking made no money tomorrow, how much do I need to maintain this for the rest of my life? So it's a big number, but if I do it from the next 3 months, it looks a little bit easier. So I think that buffer is really, really important.
Yeah.
Rick, moving on, support networks. We spoke about this, nearly, again, one of the most important things. What do you think you need to have around you when starting a business?
Yeah, definitely at the start, you know, you want a good accountant.
Yep.
So
where do you find one? Like, where would you go these days?
Everyone knows someone that knows an accountant.
Yeah.
And that's a good place to start.
OnlyFans.
Yeah. Maybe jump on there and have a look, see who's an accountant. But everyone knows someone in the network, and that's a good starting spot. And if that doesn't work, there's hundreds and hundreds of firms, and you just need to find one that aligns with you and your business. So whether it be a specialist in hospitality, you know, put in Google Melbourne accounting firms that specialise in hospitality, or e-commerce. That's probably a good place to start. And you know, if you are at the early stages of your business, you'll probably get allocated a junior or a senior, and you can just chop and change and see who you bond with. And because it is a journey, and you want to work closely with someone that's basically become a close friend and someone that you trust.
Yeah, you really do. And it gets to the point as well where, you know, we talk about our stuff and you can be sort of talking with me and I'm like, Rick, I know we've been through this like 15 times, but I still have no fucking idea what you're talking about. And you need to be able to do that, because if you go to meetings with someone that you're probably not comfortable with, and you just go, yeah, which I used to do in school, and not say, hey, I don't understand this, you're not going to learn and take it on board. And it's a really, really interesting point. Later down the track, when things do progress, you know, something that was super weird when we got to that stage, you're like, oh, we need to find, you know, like a lawyer to sort of talk to about legal sort of things as well. That was something that, you know, we had to engage in someone to just get advice on those bits and pieces too.
Yeah, most accountants work with a lawyer to assist in that front. But again, with an accountant and building that relationship, if you already know someone or someone knows someone that they can use, you know, again, you want to build that close relationship and someone that you trust, because the documents that lawyers are working on for you are quite personal, and they evoke a lot of hard questions if they haven't been discussed with shareholders and other business owners and directors.
Yeah. 3 other things that I sort of wrote down as well, but we've touched on one of them a fair bit today. Google. Google is a genuine ripping service. I know sometimes it comes up a lot of American stuff, so you got to be careful what you're looking at, but there's not one question you can't sort of punch into that and learn with. Xero, again, it's probably been one of the coolest things I've sort of got my head around in the last couple of years, and just how helpful that's been for our sort of profit and loss statements and all those bits and pieces that we need to learn about, and YouTube as well. Like anything that you need to learn on that is all through those videos.
Yeah, like my recommendation would be to align yourself with someone that can help you through that journey.
Yeah.
But then whenever you come across something that you don't know, go back to Google, YouTube, and Google a few key terms, and maybe invest a half an hour to an hour a week on just writing down some terms and then going out and just doing some research, because it'll fast track your development in that area and help you be a better business owner yourself.
Again, my little bit of advice on this is when you're starting a business, and to be honest, you're always lean, you're always going, fuck, how can we get our costs down as low as possible? Obviously, that's the aim of the game. And I think at the start, you can really go, well, I'm paying my accountant this, my lawyer this, or any of those people that you've got. But with those things give you so much security to then have the confidence that you're making the right decisions. So I would say back to that other point of funding your business, and when you're building that forecast, get some sort of quotes of what a month of advice would look like for an accountant or a lawyer maybe down the track. You don't need them straight away, but if it was necessarily an accountant, go, hey, do you have a package that looks after for a month that we can sort of put into our forecast, that ideally if we can hit this, then we can have that ongoing relationship, because we catch up at least monthly, fortnightly if we can, to go through all these things.
Yeah, well, a good accountant and a good lawyer should save you money, but a great one will help you make more money. There's one aspect on reducing costs, but then there's also how do I grow my income, and how do I how can you work towards doing that? And an accountant can help you bounce ideas off and strategize on it, where that extra income can come from.
Love it. Let's work our way through some questions from the listeners before we move on to some more stuff. Jay O'Reilly, I'm not sure if this is it's a great question for you, Rick, but I'm not sure if it's in your wheelhouse. Is it normal to be nervous or scared to start a new venture?
Yes, it's a big risk.
It's very scary.
Yeah, and you're backing yourself too, so it's just part of having that confidence in yourself and executing.
And it's about all the things we've spoken about today, but also, even if you fail, you'll get it right the next time.
Yeah,
like it definitely hasn't been smooth sailing, this whole sort of operation that we've done, and you definitely make financial mistakes. Like I remember we paid this guy, I don't even want to tell people how much it was, but it was a lot of money for a website, and we didn't even use it because it was so bad. And I just remember going, okay, let's learn from that one.
Yeah.
Like just shit like that where you just fuck up and you go, what the fuck was that?
Yeah. It's just, you got to live and you learn, and just get out there and have a crack, and
Definitely. But with all these things, like I said, we had the buffer, so it, sort of saved us a little bit. Angus Wright, tips on starting a cafe or hospitality business. Like the reason I left this one in is today we wanted to go somewhat quite broad. There is so many things in business, like podcast business. There's, how to buy a pub or a restaurant, or how to start a cafe like this question, or how to start a fucking bookshop, and all those things. So there's different things, but you yourself have a bit of experience in hospitality, so I thought I'd leave this one in.
Can you repeat the question again?
Yeah, I will, mate. Sorry about that. That was a long-winded one. Tips on reading the question out. No, tips on starting a cafe or hospitality business.
Yeah, I think the key thing with a hospitality business is understanding your menu pricing and working backwards from that, and whether or not you can actually charge the customers that pricing. So if you're getting a beer for $6 of CUB and you're selling it for $11, you've got your margin of $5 and starting there. So I think menu pricing is key, and then getting your staffing right and making sure that you're not overstaffed, so you're losing money, or you're understaffed and diminishing your quality. So they're probably two key areas on focusing on when you are going into hospitality. Is
there any tools for that? Because it's something that one of a mutual friend of ours, Julian Moosey, who runs awesome cafes, awesome pubs, had him on the podcast himself. Like, I still don't get that. I still go, not that I'm in that industry, but I'm going, fuck, buying all that food, knowing that you're going to get meals sold,
Yeah.
having enough like beers, you're buying it for this, selling it for X, like is there a model that you look off, or is it just sort of...
Yeah, there's a basic framework that a lot of hospitality businesses will use on how to get that net profit target that they want. Generally, it's a cost margin of 30% on your stock, and then 30 to 35% on your staffing. And then every business is different in terms of its operating and rental costs, but that gives you a good starting point if you're trying to get into the market. And then there's just little bits and pieces on a cafe as opposed to a pub, as opposed to a restaurant or a nightclub. So you can have different frameworks, but generally that's a good one to start at.
There you go, Angus. We might, if there's more interest as well, guys, this isn't a one-off that we want to do. Like, we'd love to sort of break it down into other specific actual industries so that we can go more into that. But I suppose today it's been a good one just to just do a bit of a broader essence of like how to start a business a small business from the beginning. Yeah. Nick Patterson said, how do I set my business financials? Should I pay myself? If so, how do I do that?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Depending on what kind of structure you're in and can determine, how you do pay yourself or how you pull money out of the company. So yeah, that is a tough one, but you do want to remunerate yourself for the work that you're putting in. Whether or not you receive that in cash, you still want to book it on your business financial accounts just to see how your business is trading.
Yeah.
So if your business is not making any money and you haven't put your wage through, well, something's going wrong. So, that is something you should discuss with your accountant, and it'll evolve as your business evolves. But you definitely want to show
what the work you're putting in.
Yeah, the work you're putting in some way. Yeah.
It's really interesting, and like on a personal level, I know exactly what you're referring to because we had this discussion last week with this business, and we looked at our sort of statement going, oh, okay, this is here, that's not too bad. And then you were like, yeah, but you're not getting paid from this business yet. You're getting paid from Dyl Friends, not from Producey, which then goes, oh, okay, we're actually losing then. So there's just little bits like that are quite interesting.
Yeah, a lot of people can feel like they're running a successful business, but the owners aren't taking out what they're worth. So is it really a successful business? So yeah, not that you have to take it out, but you do want to recognize it and then adjust accordingly. Because if your business isn't making money and you don't have your full wage in there, well then maybe it's going to prompt you to change things and kind of tweak your model a little bit so that you can get your wage that you're worth rather than, having that subpar wage.
Yeah, love it. Again, probably not a question that we'll go through today as much, but I did leave this one in because I just am in this sort of process at the moment of finding these things out myself, so I thought we could touch on it. But at Brookwater Build said, how do you get a product made if you have an idea? So not sure what the product you're referring to, Brookie Water Build, but something that most people know already about Alibaba. It's a great resource.
Yeah, great starting point.
It's a great starting point for anything sort of manufacturing, getting anything manufactured. You would be incredibly surprised how many products you'd see on there that you've probably already bought and not known where they've come from. Yeah. We work a lot with all the stuff that we do through Alibaba, which I'm sure probably 99% of other businesses use that too. Small businesses. Yeah,
if it's a product that you've seen that you like and you want to either change it a little bit or you think you can market it better, then punch it into Alibaba or online and find a producer of it, and then call them and find out how to get some samples and go from there. Yeah,
that's what we've done, and we're in the process of doing it at the moment. It's a teething process. It's quite hard to do, but you just got to make mistakes, learn it, and do it through the app. So for those out there, again, Alibaba is like a website. You can search absolutely anything on there. Look at minimum order quantities, customizability on all of them, and sort of that's how a lot of people do it. Archie Harrison, we heard his question earlier about how to go from a sole trader to a partnership. Which we touched on, which we also said, that's worth every other person's situation. Definitely go and chat to your accountant about that one. At Jake Benno said, can you start a business while working a full-time job? How small can you start?
Yeah, of course. You can start a business at any stage, whether you're not working, whether you're working full-time. Yeah, there's never a bad time to not start a business. So, get out there and register and get going.
What's your business tip for someone out there? Would you give what industry at the moment do you think someone could start a business in? Anything available?
One tip is just get started.
Yeah.
The second tip in terms of industries, the technology these days with Shopify is incredible. And, I'm sure everyone's heard of drop shipping. which is using a combination of Alibaba and Shopify. But you can reach the world instantly these days. So finding a product that you can put a good spin on, or market differently, or tap into something that you think that the brand isn't currently tapped into, then go out there and just have a crack, start small, grow it organically.
Love it. Yeah, there's so many things too as well. Like before X, Y, and Z, all these other businesses, there was like 7 before them that no one even knows about. But I remember one was like I was really wanted to do with dog collars, and I've still got the name, still got everything there, still got the samples at home that might pick up again one day. But it can be as simple as anything out there.
Yeah. You just want to find something you're passionate about, and then try and mold a business into that passion.
Yeah.
Because then you just feel like you're not working at all, and
you're actually working 10 times harder though.
Yeah.
Rick, give us your takeaways of today. Number 1, which doesn't count, is get started.
Yeah.
That's if you're listening today and you haven't taken absolutely anything out of this, that's literally the number 1 thing is get started.
Yeah, just get going.
What would be your 2, 3, and 4?
Yeah, you definitely, as we mentioned, get a group of names together that you love.
Yep.
And then go out there and check the ABN register, the websites, the handles on Instagram, and hopefully, your ones are still available, and just go ahead and register them.
There's also a way in which, again, I mentioned this, I'm so bullish on this, is try and get, no underscores or dots available. Just, I know that's a very shallow thing, but I think that it does add to the credibility sometimes of a business. And even if it is available, check when was the last time they used that, if they're using it. The amount of fucking people I've messaged all over the world and offered them to, remunerate them for an Instagram page that they're not really using in the sense that I would. It's a long list. So I'd definitely check that out. And even on that, with a lot of the Instagram pages I've got now, I've had to negotiate with people for them. Yeah.
There's like many clients have had to reach out to people and negotiate purchasing these handles off them for anywhere between thousands to hundreds of thousands of dollars.
3.
You're getting organised with your bank account and financials as well. So having that separate account that you are running all your business expenses through is crucial. Just makes it a lot easier to determine how quickly you're spending your business allocation, if you're making any money, how long you have left to spend that money.
Love it. And last one?
Probably the last one. If you're getting involved with friends in a business and multiple directors and multiple shareholders, definitely sitting down and putting a list of roles and responsibilities together, and what the expectations are between each of the parties. Because some people will be tipping in money, some people will be sweat equity, some people will be paid for their time. So you definitely need to be clear on those 3 things.
Recapping them. Number 1, get started. And number 2, name and handles. Again, so important. So important. I don't care if you don't think it is. That is super important in the modern age. If I see a page, I know I go straight to their Instagram and I check their account. Bank account, couldn't stress that more. Getting that set up, making it clean from the beginning. Even if you've started it now, the more quickly you change that over, the better. It's always fixable, but it's good to do. And number 4, roles and responsibilities with these people, even with yourself. If you're starting it by yourself, work out what you're going to do and what you're going to try and outsource to other people. Is a huge one.
Just on that, Dyl, as well, especially if you're working full-time or part-time, you've only got so much time in the week. So noting down those roles and responsibilities that you want to have within your own business, and breaking that into how many hours a week that you want to dedicate. And if it is only 5 or it's 10 or it's 2, well, sticking to that, and don't get hard on yourself. If you've planned for 5 and you've only done 3, you just want to get started and keep, progressing.
Love that. My last one that I'm going to add in, so we have 5, is learn how to problem solve. I think, if anything, use this analogy so much. I don't know if it stands out with anyone, but when you go to a supermarket and you're looking for like the Vegemite, you walk around all the aisles, you're trying to find it could take you 15 minutes, or you walk in, you go to the front, you say, where is the Vegemite? And they tell you straight away. It's like, learn how to problem solve, go to the right people for the right advice. Don't waste your time with shit that you're not necessarily good at. It's trying to find things, because at the end of the day, you're going to face problems, but it's how quickly you can get over them is going to be whether a business is, how successful it can be. And I found that so much from the beginning of starting to try and do everything to myself, to then going, no, if I've got a financial question, I'm going to go straight to Rick. If I've got something else, I'm going straight to this person. And it's building that that team, that army around you that you can sort of rely on, which is really important.
Yeah, it's probably de facto number 2 as well, getting that support team. Yeah. So, if you've got a big idea or getting into like a big business.
You're saying we need six rules now.
Well, you could probably throw it in. We might need to.
We might need a fucking 100 rules.
Rejig the order, But yeah, it's a good start.
Good. Last one was, if you could go back, because I actually have a question, I have an answer to this. If you could go back and say you're in year 12 studying at the moment and you're about to go to uni before you start a business, you might not even want to start one yet.
Yep.
I've got a better question. Say you're looking to go into the workforce, you're leaving school, you don't know what you want to do yet necessarily. What do you think is somewhat of a generic course that you would go into now to set yourself up for a really just good understanding of everything to do with business? What would you study?
Yeah, well, look, coming from someone who's actually done a lot of study, I feel like studying later in life has been better for me. And earlier in my life, I just wish I had started a business a lot earlier. I think you learn a lot more from that rather than going and doing a course in your early 20s, just getting out there, getting started and learning what it takes to run a business. And then later on, having studied, in these MBA programs, I've then been able to link the academic theory to what actually happens out there in the real world, because it's not, they're two different things.
Well, yeah, it's like that actual study versus the case study of actually going out and getting done.
Yeah.
I sort of think, though, just to go back on my own part, was if I didn't have the career that I'd sort of had at the moment and didn't know what I wanted to do when I left school, the one sort of subject at school that I wish I stuck with and then went into next would have been accounting.
Yeah.
Just to have such a basic understanding of this stuff.
Yeah, if you're definitely at university, picking up a subject or two in economics or accounting would help go a long way to succeeding in your business.
Hey Rick, love the chat, man. That was really, really insightful. I think that people are going to get a lot out of that. Would love to do it again on some more stuff. Did you have fun?
Yeah, it was great. Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much. Really XX. Hey Josh, before we get into the chat about business and what Open Universities Australia can do to support people out there looking to get into secondary education, what is the role of Open University Australia itself?
Yeah, so the best way to think of us is a marketplace for online university study. So we're partnered with over 27 universities around Australia, and we can assist you with the whole enrollment process as well as the application process. And you're going to have our support and assistance throughout your whole education journey.
So basically, anyone looking to get into higher education can chat with you at Open Universities Australia, see what they want to do, what their skill set is, what they're passionate about, how they want to study, whether that be full-time, part-time or online. And you'll then put that all together and find the best model of study for this student.
Yeah, that's correct. So there is actually a quiz that the students can actually do by themselves. And exactly as you said, how many hours per week do I want to study? What are maybe some of the areas of interest? And that'll generate a few of the options available from either individual subjects to degrees. And as you mentioned earlier as well, there is the book a consultation service where we'll personally reach out to you at the best time of your convenience. We'll have a chat about your study options.
As you just heard, we had an incredible chat with Ricky that talked us all through small business. There's so much to learn, which is really, really exciting. Now, for someone looking to get into business, to upskill themselves in business, Open Universities Australia provides so many cool courses along this. Does one spring to mind straight away?
Definitely is one. Now, the great thing is it could be for the student wherever they want to start off with their studies or wherever they are. They could be looking for maybe a bachelor's degree, or they just want to do individual subjects for personal interest. We actually have a short course which is called the Undergraduate Certificate in Small Business. So if someone is looking to maybe do their own startup and wanting to start their own small business, I think this is a great course for them to start their studies and see where it takes them.
That's really interesting. For someone who's not didn't know a lot about university before sort of looking into this, like you can actually just do specific subjects that are of interest to you versus completing a whole degree. Is that right?
That is correct, yeah. So with Open Universities Australia, we have something which is called Open Access. So students who come to us, they can actually study subjects that are maybe from a bachelor's degree. And if they wanted to just do that individual subject, maybe it was for personal interest or even gaining credit to go into a different course, they can actually do that.
With so many questions, I'm going to try and throw them at you singularly so you can actually understand what I'm saying. But with the university applications as well, is it so much of like, you finish year 12, you get your enter score, is that still relevant? Is it for mature age students too? Is it for people in other degrees? Like, there's transferable, it's for anyone?
It still is very useful. We do have quite a few students who have recently finished year 12 and have been using their ATAR score for entry. But the great thing is, regardless of your study history, you may have finished high school 5 years ago and haven't done anything at all. You could even still be in high school. You can actually start off with university subjects with no entry requirements.
Wow, that's incredible. Speaking of subjects, Rick and I were chatting throughout the show around the importance of knowing your financials in a small business. I think that can be the number one thing to get your head around. It's something that I really struggled with when I was starting mine. Is there anything in that small business course that goes through the financial side of things?
Yeah, there definitely is. So there is a subject in there that looks at finance principles, understanding cash flow, things like that. There's also a marketing subject in there, understanding fundamental business principles, as well as managing a team. So there are quite a few options within that short course. So it's really good for students who want, so a bit more flexibility with their options from what subjects they can choose.
I'll have to pick that one up myself.
Sounds great. We'll get you straight in.
Literally. Thinking of other people, I know that everyone's different. Some people want full-time, part-time, or casual types of study. Is that available for this course in all different genres?
It sure is, yeah. So being online, the main thing is making sure that the student has that flexibility with their studies. So maybe it is full-time, or it could even be part-time, just doing 1 or 2 subjects. That is available for the student.
Fantastic. If anyone today is listening to this and they want to actually have a chat with you about how you could help them at Open Universities Australia, is there a way that they can chat with you?
There sure is. So you can head over to our website, open.edu.au. There is a service there where you can book a consultation for a specific time, whatever meets your needs. We can reach out to you at that time. We're also available on the live chat. And in regards to our 30 years that we've been, running.
You're an adult.
I know, just the same age as you.
Yes, that's
true. Wow, incredible. But we have assisted over 500,000 students with their educational journey. Looking to transform some more lives.
Unreal. Josh, you're a star, mate. Thank you so much for coming in today. If anyone wants to chat with you, make sure you jump on open.edu.au and the link will be in the show notes for that one too. Thanks, Josh.
Thank you. Been a pleasure.